Hi, welcome to today's video. And today's video is about the story of Yolanda Bianca Kuzwayo. Beautiful, gorgeous young lady whose life was cut short by somebody who should have been her biggest advocate. But instead, he ended up taking her life in a case of domestic violence. So today's story takes us to Durban, aka eThekwini, my home country's third most populous city in South Africa. And it is located in KwaZulu-Natal province, known for its beautiful beaches and valley of 1,000 hills, amongst a lot of other things. Both of these beautiful works of nature stretch for miles and miles and miles. I should say kilometers actually, in which case even longer. Sorry, the light's gonna keep changing because nature and British weather. The Valley of 1,000 Hills is a scenic area spanning from Durban to Pietermaritzburg and is known for its rolling hills. There's a lot to do there. Adventure, arts, eating, lots and lots and lots to do there and explore. I haven't even touched on the province's food culture, and I'm not going to because I'm hungry at the time of filming this. The Atlantic and the Indian Ocean meet at Cape Agulhas, and it's a southernmost point in Africa. And interestingly, we used to be able to see where the two oceans meet or converge when flying to Durban International Airport. This was before Durban International Airport was moved 60 kilometers north and renamed to King Shaka International Airport. It's truly, truly stunning. Like, it's truly gorgeous when you look at it. I mean, look at it. Like, look at that. And you tell me you don't think that's pretty. No? Alright, well, let that be your only light today. The contrast between the blue and the green, the clear separation between the two waters, yet together, maintaining healthy boundaries. When you see it from above, it's beautifully breathtaking and humbling. Those two oceans have to spend eternity next to each other whilst never agreeing on color. It's a stunning coexistence. If they can do it, so can we, as people. Disagreeing should never lead to an end to another individual's life, especially one that you have chosen and trusted with your life. Which brings us to Yolanda Bianca Kuzwayo's tragic passing. The beautiful Yolanda was born in 2001, was born, bred, raised, ate, slept, all of her very short life in Durban. A Durbanite through and through. Educated at Holy Family College, a Catholic private school not too far from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. It's about 1.8 kilometers away from there. So a little over a mile. About 4-minute drive, give or take, between the two schools, between the two establishments. So like a 25-minute walk, depending on your speed and your leg stride. She attended this private school from a very young age, and as part of growing up, formed some very close friendships and relationships. The bonds when you go to Catholic school are real. And generally, she was just living that young person life of having fun with friends, whilst balancing that with compulsory education and boys thrown in there for good measure. Towards the latter stages of her compulsory education, Yolanda met a boy, and they dated for a period of time, young love and all that, and she subsequently ended up falling pregnant and had a baby boy. The relationship itself came to an end, but a gorgeous baby boy came from it, and I would imagine that would have been her primary focus and priority. And with the support of her loving family and friends, she raised that beautiful baby boy. And as part of raising children, you want to be able to provide for them and give them, in a sense, a better life. So in late 2022, early 2023, Yolanda made a decision. And she probably did it for herself too. She made a decision to enroll with the Metropolitan Police in Durban. She was to undergo training and become a fully fledged police officer. From what I can gather, the training was a 1-year training course, and upon completion or passing, you are a qualified police officer. I definitely could be wrong though about the time period of the training course, but I think it was that back in 2022, 2023. I know there are changes now. It's no longer that now. But back then in 2022, 2023, I think it was a 1-year training course. But anyway, that was the goal for our girl Yolanda. So it was during the training that she met this man, Sizwe Ngema, a fellow police officer himself, and they began dating. And I think surprisingly, it was a surprise to both of them. And they hadn't been seeing each other for long. A matter of a few months, when Yolanda found out that she was pregnant. I think it was a surprise for both of them. I think the pregnancy was unplanned. Sizwe Ngema himself was 26 years of age when they met, by my calculations, which then is probably wrong, but yeah, I think he was around 26 years of age when they met. And reportedly, he had children from previous relationships, a 6-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. Questionable if he was actually taking care of them or was present in their lives and upbringing. So if that is the case, then yeah, real Romeo. Yolanda's auntie later said that Yolanda didn't really introduce Sizwe to them like that. Introduction to the family, that is. It was more like, hey, this is my friend and we're just friends. But they were dating at that point. And I guess for some reason, she didn't feel safe or good about introducing him as her man to her family. I don't know. Maybe she was testing out the waters, gauging out the whole situation. But with retrospect, and this is just my opinion, like this bit is just completely my opinion, she probably wasn't feeling good about the relationship or aspects of the relationship. Again, I don't know, that's just my opinion. But at some point she came to let her family know that, hey, yeah, I'm dating this man, we're in a relationship together, and became quite open as well about the trials of their relationship. I think specifically with her family, it was 3 months into the relationship when they found out that they had been dating, or that Yolanda was dating Sizwe and they were in a relationship. Yeah, I think it was 3 months into the relationship when the family found out. I would imagine the friends probably found out before that, way before that, because I don't know, that's just how these things go sometimes. But yeah, like I said, she had become quite open and honest about the trials and tribulations of her relationship with Sizwe. She came to let her family know that he was beating her and putting his hands on her. And it became quite clear to her family and anybody looking at the situation objectively, that she was in an abusive relationship. That man was putting his hands on Yolanda. 3 months into a relationship, he was putting his hands on her. Not that there's ever a time frame for that happening, but 3 months, sicko. Yeah, no, this man was abusive. And as any of us would do with a loved one in that kind of situation, they advised her to leave him. They advised Yolanda to leave Sizwe and seek help. But Yolanda just kind of stopped talking or telling them about the abuse after that. Her family clearly did not approve of Sizwe's treatment of her. They did not want Yolanda going through what Sizwe was putting her through. Because more than likely, these types of matters, abusive people's behaviors, that is, these types of matters only escalate further, unfortunately, for the victims. Yolanda's aunt and cousin were quoted, "Once a guy starts hitting you, it will never stop, and it can eventually lead to a loss of life," end quote. And in particular, one of her aunties saw that man for what he was. And I quote her, "The man was evil. I saw the evil look in his eye. The look he gave me was deadly. That person was evil," end quote. So as a result of the conversations they had had with Yolanda regarding her relationship and the relationship issues, her family came to the conclusion, and they thought that they had broken up. They thought that Yolanda had broken up with Sizwe. We came to later find out that they hadn't broken up. I imagine it genuinely really can't have been easy for Yolanda at all. What might have made it even more challenging for Yolanda to completely cut it off was the fact that she fell pregnant quite early into their relationship. But the fact that they were colleagues as well added another dynamic to the whole situation. One thing that seems to be more certain than anything else is that from the beginning, she was uncertain about whether to keep the baby or not. She went back and forth and was very much in two minds about it. I would imagine, again, that had a lot to do with this man not being able to control his hands and his mind. There's a voice note from one of Yolanda's friends to Yolanda, and in it she's kind of speaking for the friend group and kind of expressing how they're all feeling and the kind of, I guess, challenging position they are finding themselves in terms of supporting her. Okay, anyway, look, in that WhatsApp voice note, her friend is expressing a sense of frustration, for a lack of a better term, over Yolanda's indecision on whether she is going to keep the baby or not, whether she was going to terminate or not. Yolanda was doing what commonly happens when we find ourselves in those types of relationships, whereby when things are good probably because is manipulated or convinced you that it was a horrible mistake that he made and how he will never do it again. Contrition, or convinced you somehow that it was your fault. Yeah, so when things are good, we talk and tell our friends how great and how wonderful things are, the vibes are up, because we feel good. At this point, he's probably very attentive, overly attentive, and very, very affectionate. In those moments, Yolanda wanted to keep the baby. And when things were bad, when he had reverted back to his default, when things were bad in the relationship, during those periods, she did not want to proceed with the pregnancy and would often talk to her friends about wanting to go through the termination. Yeah, so to be honest with you, it's very, very understandable. Indecision over something like that. It's a huge decision to make. One that cannot be undone once made, one way or the other. Either way, it's very final. And Yolanda's friend's sense of frustration is also very fair and understandable. Overall, I got a sense of a beautiful and wonderful friendship between the girls, with love, raw honesty, and complete support for one another. They were supporting Yolanda no matter what decision she came to. Women supporting women, girls supporting girls, women supporting women, people supporting people. It's beautiful to see. It's a wonderful and beautiful thing to see. It really is. On that fateful day of March 31st, 2024, a video appeared online. It had been sent by Sizwe to quite a few people in his life and also had made its way online. Sizwe, he had posted it online. In it, you see a young woman, clearly distressed from what I can gather. And that young woman was Yolanda. She was in distress because she had been stabbed in the neck and other parts of her body by Sizwe. And even more harrowing is that she had been stabbed and the knife was left there. The knife was left and still lodged on Rebecca's body, in Rebecca's body. The poor woman was struggling and fighting for her life. Yes, so Sizwe had stabbed Yolanda, but that wasn't enough for him. Not that any of this should be a thing, but that wasn't enough for him in terms of wickedness. He decided to pull out a phone, press record, and film that poor girl's suffering. He then hit send to quite a few people and then posted online. This man is just pure evil, honestly. He's purely evil, truly sadistic. The video, I imagine, is traumatizing, horrific, harrowing, and downright evil. This man was taking photos and filming this utter wickedness. I can't. It's gotta be a special place in hell for people like him. I can't. I cannot. I personally have never seen nor seeked, nor would I ever, to see that footage. Let's just not. Let's just not, please. Yolanda, sadly, after fighting for her life, Yolanda sadly and horrifically passed away with her unborn child. And her last moments on this earth with us were being filmed and captured by the perpetrator, by this thing that we call a man, by this malignant person. This is not a human being. Well, unfortunately it is. I don't know. It's horrific and horrible to think that people like this walk amongst us. Yolanda, so she sadly and horrifically passed away with her unborn child. I hate it. I hate this. I hate that the last thing she saw was this scumbag's face. I really bloody hate that. Wickedness, utter and complete wickedness. I don't know what it has in that biological spot where we all have hearts, because it clearly is not a heart where he has it. I don't know what he has there. A tin. So Caesar, like all cowards do, took Yolanda's phone and ran off. He ran off from the apartment. This was like in the early hours of the morning. So he ran off, got in his car, and drove off. He ended up losing control of the car and crashed it on the freeway. Phoned his uncle, who managed to convince him to turn himself in to the police. I'm not clear on whether he told his uncle what he had just done or not, but his uncle did manage to convince him to turn himself in, which he did. According to Caesar during the court proceedings, Now, listen, I do not care to be speaking or talking about this malignant man, because he sure as hell does not deserve our collective breath. But this part of the court proceedings sheds some light into Yolanda's last moments. According to this man, Yolanda informed him that she was pregnant in January of 2024. And he stated that and how this was his happiest moment of his entire life. What about your other kids? You have other kids. What about your other kids? As the weeks went on, he became aware of Yolanda's intentions to terminate the pregnancy, and it seems like she had come to a decision about what she was going to do. He said, Sizwe, he came to know about Yolanda's plans and intentions by reading her WhatsApp messages that she had sent to one of her friends. So, by that you mean to tell us that you went through Yolanda's phone? Keep telling on yourself. Sizwe then said him and Yolanda had hosted a housewarming party at their place that's located in the Victoria Embankment. And he also went on to say that he had consumed alcohol and had taken narcotics. He had drank French brandy and had snorted a narcotic that rhymes with Lorraine. He said that he was highly emotional and distressed. I'm sorry, I have no empathy. I don't care, but okay, I'll continue reading. He said he was highly emotional and distressed over the messages he had read regarding Yolanda's plans for termination or for terminating her pregnancy. He was so highly emotional and distressed that he decided to confront Yolanda about it, about her intentions and plans. He said, again, this is all according to Caesar during the court proceedings. He said he took a knife from the kitchen first and then went to confront Yolanda. Not talk or have a conversation or discussion or anything like that. Confront. And he went to grab a knife first. This man is all kinds of disturbed. During the confrontation, Yolanda, according to him, Yolanda told him that he was not the child's father. Now, I'm going to go right ahead. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to go right ahead and say, I don't believe that. Even if it is what happened, the way he's saying it happened, even if that is what happened, this man, self-admittedly drunk and high, came in brandishing a knife, brandishing and wielding a knife. Yeah, I'd say whatever to get you the hell away from me. Mind you, this is the same man who earlier had said he doesn't remember anything. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't remember anything about that night, apart from finding himself on the freeway and thinking that the reason he's with the police is because of the crash on the freeway. And that the only thing he remembered was, I guess, calling for help after the crash. This part of it, when he was denying knowing anything, this was all during the bail hearing, which thankfully he was denied bail. So he was seeking bail and he was denied bail. Sizwe then, again, during the court proceedings, Sizwe then went on about how enraged he was or became, so much so that he started attacking her with a knife and stabbing her. This man is horrible. I don't know. Unfortunately, I very sadly and unfortunately, I don't think there's anything Yolanda could have said or done to stop this man from what he had in his head and was going to do. Yolanda had a minimum of 16 stab wounds throughout her body, including the groin area, her breasts, and her neck. I won't go into all of that because it is utterly horrific. Completely and utterly horrific. Very chilling. Truly, truly sinister. Point is, he hurt her. He really, really hurt her. And that is just, yeah, that's painful. Can't imagine her pain. I genuinely cannot imagine her pain. Yeah, I said it before, but there has to be a special place in hell for people like this man. Anyway, yeah, he pleaded guilty and he got 20 years in prison. Not enough, in my opinion. So if we are to believe this man and take him at his word, which I'm not, I'd like to just preface that. No, I don't. But if we were to take this man at his word, he did not want Yolanda going through with the termination. That's the reason for all of this, is that he did not want Yolanda going through with the termination. The nerve of the man who's not even taking care of the kids he has. Like, that's why all this happened. God forbid, because Yolanda was choosing to exercise her body autonomy. That's why all of this happened. That's why you did it. That's why a young boy lost his mother, trying to somewhat justify what he did, as if anything would ever warrant this type of cruelty outside of just being a controlling, vile, violent, horrible person. The way he inflicted horror and suffering on that beautiful girl. She must have been so she must have been so scared. Her family, her friends, her son, utterly devastating. Utterly devastating. It's painful. Yolanda's loved ones described her as very kind and the epitome of love and peace, who never got into fights or anything like that at all. She was laid to rest in a beautiful and very moving service in Durban in April of 2024, a week or so after her untimely passing. I'm really so sorry this happened. I'm really so sorry this happened to you, Bianca. It's so horrific. Honestly, it is so horrific. So messed up. So messed up, honestly. Anyway, yeah, I am really genuinely sorry that this happened to you, Bianca. Um, I don't know. Please be resting in peace and know that you are forever in people's hearts. Yeah. May your family and friends find a sense of healing and peace. For anyone going through a similar situation in South Africa, there's this number you can call, that's found on the UN refugee website. Rest in peace, Yolanda.